What is going on, beautiful family, beautiful friends? Much love to you guys. I hope you are well. I hope you guys are reading your scriptures. Huge news. You guys can go for anybody on the Apple, guys, or excuse me, Apple. Anybody that's on Android, I wish it was the Apple. Apple's going to be a different story. It's going to be something hopefully in the future. But anybody with an Android device, guys, go to the Google Play Store and you can type in Yah Scriptures, 2 words, and you will be able to download what we are about to read out of absolutely free of charge. Just like the word of our Creator should be completely free of charge, it is free of charge. All 103 books that are in the big blue book are now available for you on the Google Play Store. So guys, grab that. It is out there. It is for your viewing pleasure. It is for your soul's pleasure. It is for your kingdom to come pleasure. It is going to be the same books that we have in the kingdom. Because when we go to the kingdom, we're still going to be keeping a Shabbat. We're still going to be keeping Passover. We're still going to be keeping the Feast of Unleavened Bread. We're still going to be keeping Sukkot and the Day of Trumpets. All of these appointed times that we have been told to do because it's in remembrance, or it's because of obedience, or it's because things that we should be doing because that's what our Creator has told us to do, we're going to be doing them. It's going to be just like old times, from the times that we are on these lands. And we are in some dark times. And, I want to kind of quickly get out in the weeds just a little bit here, because there's some very interesting videos that have been uploaded to 153news.net. And 153news.net is not a Kodesh place. It is a place of truth. It is a place where all of the censored voices from across the world assimilate, and it's a place where truth can't be crushed. And a video appeared on 153news.net talking about the nefariousness of the trails that are left behind by the airplanes that are going up in the sky. And I remember seeing a video years and years ago about the powers that be messing with a gene, like a V28 or something of the sort. Some sort of gene that essentially turns people's abilities to find our Creator. It basically turns off the faith side of things, to where it's really hard to pray. It's really hard to concentrate. It's hard to do anything outside of that. And I didn't see that video until yesterday. And I was thinking a little bit earlier this week, and for about the last couple of weeks, that for some reason I was having a hard time staying focused as I am praying. And I don't know if you guys have run into that before, but obviously our minds will wander. But when we are in discussion with our Father, with our Elohim Most High, it is something that we need to keep our utmost time based upon this, and attention too. And I didn't know why, and I don't know if this is true or not, but they're talking about things aren't just to block out the sun anymore. There's a far more nefarious side of things, to where there's all sorts of stuff that is coming down and inoculating us. And yes, I know it sounds just like one of these conspiracy theorists, but right now, after 2019 and 2020, the conspiracy theorist folks should be doing a victory lap, because they were exactly right. And so there's something to be said for those that are awake. And also something that I am taking note of now, and I want to fight through this myself. Like, if there was something that was attempting to block my communication with my Creator, and I had thought about it prior to actually seeing some sort of proof to it, it's something that we should probably all take note of, and something we should pray even more. And if they're trying to stop us from seeking our Creator, that gives us more armor to fight through this, to find our Creator, to seek Him, to seek His ways. And it's extremely important that we are doing this as a people. And we're living in the end days, right? We're living in the end days of where in Daniel's prophecy, we talk about the final kingdom. And the final kingdom is a kingdom of iron and clay mixed. And it says it's the weakest kingdom of all. And you got to be very careful about what you say on these platforms anymore, because you can't go against the flow when it comes to what the powers that be from the world of 1984 are giving us to think about, right? There's certain things that we can only think about and certain things we can definitely only say. And so we all have to tiptoe around these things, but I want to make sure that those of us who are part of Yah's people are at least aware of these things. And if you guys are struggling, praying, guys, if it's something that we can recognize, then it is something that we can fight through. And it is something that absolutely our Creator will protect us from. It doesn't mean we're not going to be in the runway. Doesn't mean that we're not going to have to fight through this. But as we have read in scriptures, the last days, things become extremely dark. People become extremely crazy. And I was watching yet another video on 153 News yesterday. And it was people in Hollywood, California. And it was basically the homeless, drug-addicted people that are just walking down the road screaming. They're going around in circles screaming. And these synthetic drugs that are all around us now, the fentanyl, the K2, stuff that's extremely cheap that does a lot of damage. It's not like the days back when I was a kid of buying a bag of weed or something of the sort. And, I don't think any of this stuff is good for our temples. I believe that we need to be pure. We need to be without substance in our systems so that we can communicate with our Creator, so He is able to communicate with us. And it's something that our bodies are the temple of the Most High, and we need to protect them at all costs. So there's a tremendous amount of people always ingesting stuff. And, from the old days of when it just looked like a basic bag of drugs, the stuff now is completely nuts. And as I talk to these guys in prison, the big drugs in prison now are K2. And some guys joke around that people are smoking potpourri, but nobody really knows what K2 is. And the way they described it to me in prison is it's like an eighth of your pinky nail in a tiny strip of paper. And what they do is they take a bag of tea and they'll smoke the bag of tea and they'll put that little piece of paper in that. And so when they're done, what they're hoping for with the effects of K2 is that they are doubled over, puking in a state of madness. And I've talked to a lot of guys in prison that have survived suicide attempts by trying to smoke a bunch of K2. And it will stop your heart. It will put you into the infirmary. It will put you into ICU. It's just a different level of drugs that are out there than we have ever seen before. And the people are very vulnerable to it. And so I can't imagine we aren't in these last days. And the last days, I mean, we could be hundreds of years away from the last days, but we know there's a 6,000 year time frame. We know that when our Creator was talking to Adam and Kawa and talking about the 5,500 days, basically 5,500 years is what we have. There's also some things that when you are reading the book of Enoch, and it talks about the fallen, and they were basically held captive for 70 generations. And when you go and try to research exactly when or roughly the 70 generations was, somewhere in the 1900s is when a lot of these things would be released. A lot of these things would come out of this captivity until judgment time comes. And so I don't think we're just under the forces of regular stuff anymore. I think things are ramped up. And this is why we all need to be reading our scriptures. We need to be praying. We need to be fasting. We need to be seeking our Creator where He's able to be found. And we need to be rebuking these unclean spirits that are definitely coming to try to take us and our families. And that's their job, right? They have already chosen their sides. And I'm sure there's probably some unclean spirits that decided to turn into good unclean spirits or something. Did they all, 100% of them, all decide that was the path they wanted to go against our Creator? It's a poor choice, right? It's a poor choice they made. And we're battling the greatest of all rebels, Hasatan, the devil himself, the biggest devil, right? There's a lot of devils, there's a lot of unclean spirits, but there's a one who stands out amongst all of them, because when we're talking about Hasatan, we're talking about an entity that was a musician and in charge of music, in charge of a lot of things in the Shamayim. He was close to our Creator. And during that time, this entity got so confused and so prideful and so arrogant that he thought he could do a better job than our Creator. And when he was tossed down like lightning and he was thrown to these grounds, he realized that he is on a limited time. And the more souls he gets, the more his little domain is going to be for the eternity. And we don't know if eternity is constant fire and brimstone, constant pain, constant torture. And some of the things about eternity we're going to learn in this book of Second Ezra, which is why I am very excited that we are all getting here to read this. And so before I recap, I want to give a little bit of a call out to Yah Scriptures, guys, the greatest English translation you can ever get, the big blue book. It is still available. It is a limited edition print, which means if you guys want this in your houses with your families, this is the one to get. We are also very, very close to, they're about to hit the print button in China. And for our little itty bitty tiny books, they are just the regular 66 book, Yah Scriptures, without the Apocrypha. This big blue book in front of you has 103 books. It's 3,153 pages, 3 amazing bookmarks. And this thing holds up to a lot of abuse. We have a lot of heavy duty readers that read it, that are off grid, live in tents, live out in the middle of nowhere, and they put bookmark after bookmark and pencil after pencil in their reading. They are constant Bereans. They are always reading their scriptures, and we have never seen a Yah Scriptures get destroyed, right? We have never seen somebody goes, oh man, we used this thing till there was nothing left of it. It is surviving the test of time, which is absolutely amazing because of the size of this book. It is large print, guys, 14.5 font, whereas a small book, I think, is like 8 font. And so the big book is for those who want to do a lot of reading, for those who love reading the Word, and for those who possibly can't see very well, people like me who have difficulty, as you're seeing. Now, as we are getting into a piece of the Apocrypha, I'm going to recap Second Ezra, because we have already gone through the very first book of Ezra. And in that book of Ezra, we hear a tremendous amount of history and facts that came out of Babylon. Now, everybody, for those who have listened to this channel enough, we talk about this a tremendous amount. But the people that came out of Babylon after 70 years of captivity, which was their judgment, they weren't, this was, like 2 generations, right? There were people that grew up in captivity, just like us, who literally grew up in captivity. Now, a lot of people say, hey, Jason, we're not in bonds, we're not in chains. But when you don't have the Torah, and when you live like a Gentile, when you live with pagan ways, your soul is in chains, and your soul is always going to be crying out, because deep inside, I think everybody knows that there is a creator out there. Something isn't created out of nothing. We can take a pile of bricks and you can blow it up 5 million times, and never once is it going to build a house. Never once is it going to build a structure that is livable. Never once is it going to look like a house. So to have a creator and a creation, we must have to figure out who the creator is. And there's no religion out there that gives us the answers to what and who the creator is. And when we simply read scriptures, we learn that our creator is a living, breathing entity, that we were created in his image, which gives us a lot to deduce, a lot of things that we can wonder about. We can wonder, does he look like us? How long has he been in existence? Where did he come from? We do know there's only one Elohim. So as far as what we can understand for time and being a human, living in the times where we are birthed to the time that we die, a lot of times it seems like a long time, right? When people live to be 70 or 80 nowadays, we're like, wow, that's really old. If you live beyond that, you're like, wow, you're really, really blessed. Whereas those who were back in the days were living 200 years old, 300, 400, 500, right? Adam and Kawa and all of those guys, they were 1,000 years. They were a millennium there. And so time for us is something that's hard to grasp. But we do know that we are striving for eternity forever, ever, ever, which is why it is important that we guard our souls right now. This is why it's important that we guard our temple. This is why it's important that we are reading our scriptures slowly as a love letter from our Creator to us, as a technical manual from our Creator to us. There's no better way. And so let's get into this. This is a recap of 2nd Ezra chapter 1. It begins with Yahuwah speaking to Ezra, and he rebukes Israel for their rebellion, their ungratefulness, and disobedience, despite all the mighty works he'd done for them. And he led them out of Mitzrayim, right? He led them out of Egypt. They were able to see all of the plagues, supernatural plagues that came and went, and they were saved and preserved from them. And he reminds them how he fed them, protected them, and gave them prophets, yet they turned their backs on him and killed his messengers. Yahuwah tells Ezra that since his chosen ones have rejected him, he will reject them and call a new people who were not called by his name before. These new people will hear him and obey him, and he warns that judgment is coming for the lawless and idolatrous. And then the chapter 1 ends with Yahuwah saying, I have called you, but you refused. My judgment will not wait. Same words and same message that all of us have today. Our Creator's calling all of us. He's calling you. He's calling his beautiful children. He's calling his beautiful family. He's setting this up. And we know that evil will reign. We know that darkness is going to take over. And we don't need to fear this. The Gentiles are going to do what the Gentiles do. The Satanists, demons, Luciferians, Freemasons, all of these people that serve another Elohim are going to do what they're going to do. And on these lands, even Satan himself has said, these are his lands. When he was talking to our Messiah, he's like, look, he took him up in a high spot where he could see all the four corners of the plains. And he says, look, I'll give all of this to you if you will just worship me. And our Messiah, YHWH, says, there's only one that you worship, Yahuwah. Chapter 2, Yahuwah speaks comfort to the righteous. He tells Ezra to encourage his people and warns them that the reward for righteousness is near. He speaks of a time of great joy and blessing for those who kept his covenant. A vision is shown of a great number of people clothed in white receiving crowns from the Son of Elohim, identified as Yahushua, because they stood firm in the truth and overcame. Ezra is amazed and asks who these people are. And the messenger tells him, these are they that have put off their mortal clothing and put on the immortal. They confessed the name of Elohim and did not deny him. Then the chapter ends with Ezra being told to no longer mourn for the wicked, but to rejoice for the righteous and prepare for the kingdom. So that is an amazing recap. That is a place of joy. Now we are getting into the third chapter of 2nd Ezra, and what you're seeing right here, guys, you are seeing the Yah Scriptures from the Android Play Store. I just downloaded this brand new today, and this is the same big blue book that you guys see right before your eyes. And so here we are. Let us get into this. 2nd Ezra right here, chapter 3. And we can make this not a big deal. Chapter 1. In the 30th year after the ruin of the city, I was in Babel, and I lay troubled upon my bed, and my thoughts overwhelmed my heart. For I saw the desolation of Zion and the wealth of those who dwelt in Babel. Big stuff, right? I mean, a lot of us look around and we look at these Christian churches. We look at the Mormon churches. We look at the size of the Catholic churches. We look all around us. And it seems like everyone around us is thriving. Everyone that is Gentile based, it looks like they are blessed. It looks like they are living their best lives now. And essentially that is what they are living, their best lives now. And this is the problem Ezra had, right? He was sitting there laying on his bed in Babylon. And a lot of times we have these thoughts that overwhelm our hearts, right? I will often awake around 3 in the morning. I do not know why. And I'll start praying, right? I feel, I feel like I have to pour my heart out because I don't know why I feel this troubled in my heart, and I see this. We see the wickedness all around us. We see it thriving, but just like the last chapter, we have to rejoice in the righteous. We have to rejoice in the few of us who are in Torah, those who are seeking our Creator, those who are able to save our families from this great wickedness of this world. 3, Ezra again speaking. And my spirit was greatly moved, so that I began to speak words full of reverence to the Most High, and said, O Yahuwah who reigns, you spoke in the beginning when you established the earth, and by you alone, and commanded the dust, and gave a body to Adam without being, which was the workmanship of your hands, and breathed into him the breath of life, and he was made living before you. And you led him into paradise, which your right hand had planted before the earth ever appeared. And you gave a command to him to love your way, which he transgressed. And immediately you appointed death in him and in his generations, from whom came nations, tribes, people, and clans without number. And all people walked after their own desire and acted arrogantly before you and despised your commands. Guys, if we didn't know any better, this would be absolutely today's world that we are in, right? Who has value on the commands of our Creator? When you ask the Christians about the commands of our Creator, they will laugh at you and scoff at you, and you will become a mocking amongst them, because they have salvation figured out, and their salvation is a split in the path of our Creator and his Son. Their salvation involves a man named Jesus, and a name that does not mean salvation. When we are talking about a Hebrew man's name that ends up with a Greek name, we have to know that the King James has lied to everybody. And not only that, is over 7,000 times they took out the name of our Creator. Instead of Yahuwah, Yahweh, we have God, right? We have a surtitle, whereas there are many lowercase g gods. There's a lot of people that consider themselves gods. The Pope, he considers himself a spokesman for God. And at some point, all the Catholics look at him like a god. He can do no wrong. And so here we are. We live in a world where the people are arrogant before our Creator, right? Once saved, always saved. All you got to do is make this decision in your heart that you are following Jesus. Ask him into your heart. And nobody can snatch salvation away from you. Isn't that funny? Isn't that crazy? That's not in scriptures. Messiah Yahushua very clearly says, depart from me, you who are lawless. So that sounds like salvation is being completely snapped away from you. 9, and again it came to be, you brought the flood upon those who dwelt on the earth and destroyed them. And it came to be in each of them that as death was to Adam, so was the flood to these. Nevertheless, you left one of them, namely Noah, with his household, from whom came all righteous men. And it came to be that those who dwelt upon the earth began to multiply and had brought forth many children, and were a great people. And they began again to be more wicked than the first. Now when they lived so wickedly before you, you chose a man from among them, whose name was Abram. You loved him, and you showed your desire to him alone, and made an everlasting covenant with him, promising to him that you would never forsake his seed. And to him you gave Yitzchak, and to Yitzchak you gave Yaakov and Esau. As for Yaakov, you chose him for yourself and put Esau aside. And so Yaakov became a great multitude. And it came to be that when you led his seed out of Mitzrayim, you brought them up to Mount Sinai. And bowing the Shamaim, you established the earth, moved the whole world, and made the depths to tremble, and troubled the men at that time. And your esteem passed through 4 gates of fire and of earthquake and of wind and of cold, that you might give the law to the seed of Yaakov and commandments to the generation of Yisrael. Guys, this is why we are supposed to be overjoyed. Not only have we awoken in a crazy world, but we have awoken to a guidelines and to a set of commandments that we were given, a people that have not been forsaken. We have not been created just to live on this earth without a purpose. Our purpose is to seek our Father and to seek his ways and to seek obedience through the commandments and keeping them, and to know these commandments with all of our heart, with all of our mind, with all of our soul, with all of our strength. That we repeat these commands when we get up in the morning, that we impress them upon our children, that they're frontlets between our eyes. That nothing we do or say will ever happen without being through the lens of the Torah. Continuing on, 19. Actually 20. 20. And yet you did not take away from them a wicked heart, that your law might bring forth fruit in them. For the first Adam, bearing a wicked heart, transgressed and was overcome. And so are all those who are descended from him. Thus sickness was made permanent, and the law in the heart of the people with their evil root, so that the good departed and the evil still stayed. So the days passed and the years were brought to an end. Then you raised up a servant named David, whom you commanded to build a city for your name, and to offer incense and offerings to you within it. When this was done many years, then those who inhabited the city forsook you, and acted in all manner, even as Saddam and all his generations had done, for they also had a wicked heart. And so you gave your city over into the hands of your enemies, and their deeds than any better who inhabit Babel. Are their deeds then any better who inhabit Babel, that they should therefore have the reign over Zion? For when I came there and had seen unrighteousness without number, and my heart saw many evildoers in these 30 years, so that my heart failed me. For I have seen how you endure those sinning and spared evildoers, and have destroyed your people and preserved your enemies, and have not declared it. I do not remember how to depart from this way. Are those of Babel then better than those of Zion? Or is there any other people that knows you besides Yisrael? Or what generation has believed your covenant so much as Yaakov? So here we are, guys, right? We're in the end days. We're in the end times where evil is just prospering and darkness is overtaking our lands. Literally. They literally are trying to turn the sun off. They are doing things that are just incredible to human beings, to the environment. It's not going to survive unless the intervention comes. We will not survive what these people are trying to do to us. So here we are, 33. And yet the reward does not appear, and their labor has no fruit, for I have gone here and there among the Gentiles, and I see they overflow in wealth, and do not think upon your commands. Now therefore weigh our wickedness in the balance, and also theirs who dwell on the earth, and so shall your name be found nowhere but in Yisrael. Guys, this is why we don't need a title for a religion. You don't need to be called you don't need to be called Hebrew roots. You don't need to be called a Catholic. You don't need to be called a Christian. You don't need to be called anything. You could simply be called a Hebrew, which means a crossing over one. It's the same thing, right? We don't need a label for being a commandment keeper. We are the people that believe from the front of the book to the end of the book. We believe what the promises are. We believe in the promises of our Messiah, and we believe what our Creator has told us he would do for us. And this is why we need to be obedient and be loyal to him, because he created us in such a fashion that we are here today, and you're able to listen to this, and we're able to speak and breathe and operate and see and decipher, and we have brains that we can sit here and articulate this and discuss these things. Guys, we've been given everything. We've been given life. And all we have to do is walk through this life, and we have to be tested in a way that is pleasing to our Creator. We have to walk through all of these devils and demons that lay to the left and to the right, and we need to keep our eyes on this narrow path. We need to make sure that what we are doing is pleasing to our Creator, that we're not ingesting evil into our bodies, that we're not defiling our temple, that we're not being evil, right? In a world of evil, being not evil is the anomaly. Continuing on, 35 and finishing up. Or when was it that those who dwell on the earth have not sinned in your sight? Or what people have so kept your commands? You shall find that Yisrael by name has kept your orders, but not the Gentiles. Here we go with this Gentile thing, right? I just saw an email from a guy just yesterday that was going off on me, a huge page of stuff about how I was anti-Christian and anti-this and anti-that. And, I love my Christian brothers and sisters. They are very, very much deceived, but I love them because I love humanity. And if we are not out there waving this flag of the kingdom, who's going to turn from their Gentile ways? Being a Gentile is not a proud thing to be. There's no house of Gentile in Hebrews 8. There's no house of Christian, no house of Catholic, no house of Mormon. There's no house of Islam. There's no house of Muslim, right? There is a house of Yisrael, a house of Judah. And it is something that we need to strive to be. And how do we become these houses, right? Well, we become obedient. That is how we will be grafted in, by being obedient keepers of the laws. So we need to put our Gentile ways away. We need to understand that Gentile is not a good word when it comes to our Creator. It's something that is a person who is out of covenant. That doesn't mean our Creator doesn't love everybody. He created everybody. He gave everybody into this testing land that we all have the opportunity to come forward and to find our Creator and find the way. And in a world that we are in right now, where you can simply go to the Google Play Store and download Yah Scriptures, and you can read this on any device that you have, any Google device you can read this on, right? You can go to YHWH and you can download the free versions. They're all there. This has all been delivered to you, right? It's been preserved. Even though the Hallelujah Scriptures really didn't want anybody to have free copies of this, we've now distributed tens of thousands of free copies amongst everybody in these digital versions and all of this stuff. And so, guys, the way forward is the Torah. The way forward is our Messiah. It's a 2-lane highway where we need both lanes to understand the entire road. And when we don't understand the road, or we only have a Messiah, and we, what do we do, right? What do we do? Why do we have a Messiah? Why do we need a Messiah if the laws have been nailed to the cross, right? That's the thing, is our Messiah didn't come to bring the lawless to the kingdom. He came to bring those who are his family. And his family are those who are doing the will of our Creator. And the will of our Creator is found in the first 5 books of Scriptures. So it is with that, everybody, that I would like to wish you a goodbye, a much love. I hope you guys have a good week, and until we meet again, shalom to you all.